your coxswain from the UK in the coxswain seat for this Husky third varsity 8. They're rowing the Chuck Holtz 3. Chuck Holtz, former Husky legend there. Many boats named for Chuck Holtz over the years. And we have a start to the race here. We're going to see if that angle, California, really aggressive on those first 5 strokes. They're really pressing quick and strong out of the blocks there. So for the Huskies, Mark Tennyson from Seattle's your stroke man. Ethan Walsh from Philadelphia is in the 7th seat. Cameron Tasker returning for the Huskies this week, junior from Norwich, Connecticut, or Norwich, UK, sorry. And he's in the Varsity 8 last year. Cameron's recovering from some injury issues and back in it for the Dogs now. Alex Gonin is your 5-man. Parker Rains from Sammamish is in 4. Matteo Belgeri from Bellagio, Italy is in the 3 seat. Ewan Morrow from Seattle in the 2, and Hector Guillemette is the bow seat from France. So that's the Husky lineup. Good start by the Bears, settling into the race now. I think we got a close one. It might be just like that 4th varsity race where we see a battle all the way down the race course here. So Ethan Nime is your coxswain for the Bears. Travis Jorgensen in the stroke seat. Antonio Di Stefano is the 7. Leonard Brahms in the 6. Evan Gold in 5. Nemanja Luladia is in the 4th seat. I apologize. I'm doing my best I can with that last name. Thomas Heerding in the 3 seat. Farley Diamond Brown in the 2. And Henry Ferrer in the bow seat for the Golden Bears. So you can see just really good, strong, quick racing here. Cal just up over the Huskies here as we hit that 500-meter mark. Just about 2-second margin. We'll see if the Huskies can really send it here in the middle 1,000 meters and kind of get back onto terms with the Golden Bears. So, Phoebe, one thing, you might have a little bit of extra background on some of these Husky crews. Husband is one of the assistant coaches for Michael Callahan. Michael Grady, Husky, our former Cornell grad and U.S. Olympic gold medalist, helping out Coach Callahan with the guys this year.
I do. I converted Michael over to the Husky family. I do have to give a special shout out. Nikita would like to say hello to his parents, the coxswain, the Washington 3V, all the way back in the UK. So hi to Nikita's parents. But yeah, this third varsity 8 saw some tough racing, some really hard, gritty racing over down in Sarasota, Florida a couple weeks ago. They've been working. We have people coming back from injury. So that 2-second margin that we've seen kind of all day from that Washington and Cal men's crews, really in that second 500 and that middle 1K, they're going to be trying to get into that rhythm, stay cool, stay focused, stay internal, control your race from your seat. That Cal, we saw a little bit of steering issues in that first 500 from that Cal boat with corrections from the wind, but they're doing a great job just placing those blades in a strong rhythm. But boats, it looks like Cal's just a little bit ahead of Washington on that rate, but Washington's got a nice rhythm. You'll see kind of now about Washington about a second and a half back, just under from Cal, so made up a little bit of time in that second 500, looking to kind of continue in that third 500.
Yeah, Nikita knows exactly what to do and what to call to get these guys to just take it inch by inch back into that Cal lead, and we'll see if California can respond. I really love the blade work that you see from both these crews. Just perfect entry of the blade into the water and creating great connections. So along with Michael coaching these 3V and second varsity guys, we've got a great staff for the Huskies. Quinn Clark and Nate Goodman. Also, Nate works primarily coaching those Husky freshmen up, and Quinn coming over from the University of Notre Dame, where he was the head coach of the men's club team there, doing a fantastic job with the Fighting Irish, and now joining the Husky staff and really an asset to Coach Callahan's coaching staff. We've got a battle going on between these two crews. What a great view, showing side-by-side racing where the pressure, the intensity is on display between these two boats and these two programs. Side-by-side racing, nearly dead level now, I think, as we enter the Montlake Cut. Hopefully the Husky fans see this and they cheer on their dogs in these final 500 meters here.
You're really going stroke for stroke. Again, as you enter the cut, as a Husky, it really fuels you. You hear the people cheering. It kind of acts as an amphitheater, and those voices really just amplify, and you kind of take that in. Again, stroke for stroke between these two boats, really close racing. It looks like Washington just squeaked ahead with that 422.2 to the 423.0 at the 1500. So we've seen Cal have some really great responses to pressure today, and we want to make sure, and they're going to be trying to kind of continue to respond to that pressure from Washington. Washington's going to really try to continue that momentum. Blades are going to need to be nice and sharp as we enter these last 300 or so meters.
And the comment of the blades staying sharp, I just was watching the racing, and just it takes so much when you are sending it and you're working so hard. You've built up so much lactic over those first 5 minutes of racing that it really comes down to, can you hold it together? How has your physical training paid off? How has your technical side of your racing? Is it going to maintain through the finish line here? We've got a great push by Washington to reverse that margin over California now. Can Washington hold off to the finish line? Cal has some extra speed. We'll see, can Cal really crank towards the finish line, but it looks like Washington is moving away still in the final 10 strokes.
Yeah, both boats, again, nice and calm and collected. The coxswains are really going to have to maintain composure over their boats as it gets tight. And it looks like that Washington 3V taking away the win over that California 3rd Varsity 8. Unofficial, we have that time from UW, 550.4 over Cal, 552.6. So just under a 2-second win for that Washington boat. A lot of excitement over there. Some really great racing through that last 1,000 meters of that race.
Yeah, great race by the Husky third. Carl Lovestad for the Huskies there over in the far lane. Kieran Joyce, your coxswain from New Zealand, is in the coxswain seat. Ryan Martin from Newport Beach, the junior, in the stroke seat. Klaas Olelas from Germany in the 7. Quinn Hall from Chester Springs, PA, in the 6th seat. We've got to start to the race. We want to watch these first few strokes here before we hit the rest of the lineup for both the Bears and the Huskies. It looks like Cal with quick, powerful, well-executed strokes. One of the staples that you've seen over the past years from California. Coach Franson does a great job coaching up these starts. Very technical on it, very well with the power application, and then you reinforce that with a ton of power, and you're going to end up with some very high quality racing here from Cal. So Washington with a quick start as well. Looks like we have a very close margin as we come into the high strokes of the race here. So Kieran Joyce calling a great race for the dogs here in the first 250 meters. We are side by side. This is great racing coming up right now. So Povi Yuskavicius, sorry again, doing a great job there in the 5 seat for the dogs. Ian Burnett, your graduate transfer from Brown there in the 4 seat. Lyle Donovan, a walk-on track athlete. Parent, dad rode at Wisconsin for the Badgers. Marius Alsund is the 2-man, and Finn Griskauskas is your bow seat, the big 6'6" bow seat. Swinging away there for the Huskies in the bow seat. It looks like Cal and Washington, it's a pretty close margin between these two, with Cal maybe a seat or two. Going to be Washington responding in the middle 500 to 1,000 meters here to see if they can kind of get back on terms with the Golden Bears.
Yeah, it looks like just 1 second separating these two boats. You saw in those first 5, Cal really kind of jumped and got their bow ball ahead and has just kind of maintained that little bit of distance over Washington. But as you kind of pass into that second 500, really a lot of grit here. You're going to see that Washington boat really trying to inch, and it looks like they took a little bit of move trying to level out with California. Both boats strong rhythms, kind of matching their stroke rates, matching stroke for stroke to try to just inch that ball ahead, but really strong racing. Looks like maybe Washington trying to get that bow ball just an inch ahead.
Oh, we have a very good race here. This is going to be one of those epic Cal and Washington battles all the way down the race course here. So coxswain Anna O'Reilly leading the Bears there. Dan Bradbury in the stroke seat. Jeremy Beal in 7. Tobias Christensen in 6. Maximilian Faust in 5. Rory Menzies in the 4 seat. Matthew Waddell in the 3. Alexander Baroni in the 2 seat. And Pablo Moreno, your bow seat from Sevilla, Spain in there for the Golden Bears. So what a race between these two. So Huskies, you know that we've got the Bob Ernst celebration happening on Friday night before Windermere Cup next weekend. Bob, there's a million phrases. Full tilt boogie is one of the most familiar, and this race is going to come down to that full tilt boogie, nuclear warheads at 10 paces type of racing that Bob would describe to us back in the day. This is fierce fight between these two, but that move that Washington put on there in that middle of the race, what a press from the Huskies.
You'll see them peek out just a little bit, about half a second ahead of that California boat. Again, that second, third 500, a lot of racing going on, a lot of rhythm happening between these two boats, but it is going to be Washington just kind of dominating off of that move. That was a really kind of shifting point for that Washington boat, and we'll see how California can respond as we enter the last 750 meters. Washington kind of gaining some energy from that move as they enter the cut. They'll hear those cheers. How is California going to respond? We've seen some really great responses from California today, and is Washington going to be able to hold them off with that just about 1 length lead?
Well, this is a great race, and Kieran Joyce, you saw that close-up of him early in the race. He is so cool and calm when he's racing. It's one of the things that Coach Callahan and I talked about at the Sarasota 2K was how deep and talented the Coxon group is for Washington. He's such an asset in this second varsity, keeping the guys under control, keeping them ready, really sharp rowing from both these crews. That California crew has a ton of experience in this second varsity 8 with some of the Olympians returning to Cal. Scott Franson was able to move some of these guys that raced at the varsity level the last few years are in this second varsity, and they're very, very, very good athletes that are in this second varsity for Cal. But what a response in that middle 1,000 meters for the Huskies. Power, precision, and really making a shift there when Kieran called for it.
Yeah, as they're entering and crossing under that bridge in the last 300 or so meters, Washington just really still dominating the second half of this race. How are they going to maintain that composure as they lift the rate? But they are going to be looking at a way kind of to break contact from California with just a little bit of open water, moving in with less than 250 meters to go. California really going to be digging deep into their well to try to close that gap, gain contact back on Washington, but again, some really strong racing here. You can see the look on their faces as they kind of enter that pit to finish out this race.
Yeah, what a push to get an open water lead. I did not expect when we saw that start, I thought we were going to be in for that kind of race where it is just stroke for stroke all the way down. What a great push from Washington over the final 1,000 meters to take open water. You see Kieran slapping that gunnel. He is pumped to win this race. What a great showing by Washington there.
Yeah, you really could see the kind of the moment the race shifted right in that second 500. You saw like Washington just kind of take an inch, and then they just kept going all the way through that finish line. A lot of excitement from that Washington boat.
So as we run through these lineups, you see a ton of international experience, guys that have raced at the highest level of racing that you can have in the sport of rowing. Should be some very exciting racing going on here down the race course as we challenge for the Schoch Cup.
Yeah, really strong racing about to happen here. We'll see them just locking in from the start line. Still a little bit gusty out there at the start, but both boats locking in. It's kind of the calm before the storm. It's nice and quiet, big deep breaths as we approach that start line. It looks like we have a clean start in these first couple strokes of the race.
Cal has been showing tremendous starts the last few years. And then with returning these athletes from the Olympic squads back into California, dealing with a little bit of wake there. Cal looking strong off the start, though. So Cal integrating, Coach Franson talking about these guys returning from the effort, the emotional side that racing at the Olympics takes, reintegrating them into the team, kind of allowing the time necessary during that return to Cal in the fall and reintegrating into the team. But some fantastic leadership coming from some of these athletes there. That 7-man Angus Dawson from Australia, one of the key guys for Cal, has been a great leader throughout this spring season for them. The Huskies on their side, Logan Ulrich coming back from that New Zealand squad, racing in the Olympics in the straight four, doing a fantastic job along with that whole Husky boat. Nick Dunlop tried out for the Australian Olympic team, coming back and leading the Huskies now from that coxswain seat. So experience, excellence, just the emotional side of this kind of racing coming through today. And Cal has a couple seat lead early on here as we hit 500 meters into the race.
Yeah, like we've seen kind of all day from especially the men's side from California. They've had really strong first 500 meters. Looks like in the last 20 or so strokes, they've kind of inched that bow ball further ahead. Really strong rhythm coming from California. But like Steve has mentioned, there's a lot of experience in these boats. So both boats know not to get too confident with that lead. And that Washington boat knows that they still have about 1,500 meters of water to inch back in that lead. It looks like that Washington bow's maybe sitting around the 3-man of that California boat. So again, still striking range for Washington, and California can't get too comfortable up there. But really great blade work from both boats. A little bit gusty through that middle 1K, but really strong racing as we see California maybe just take one more seat over Washington.
Yeah, and Cal at about 37.5 strokes per minute there, just sending it into this little bit of headwind that puffs down the race course now through the middle 1,000. Washington has got to be on terms with just getting that power, sending it right now. Here's a good shot of California. You can see the big bodies in the middle of that Cal boat swinging away at it. Power and leverage coming from this California crew. Ilya Azadi doing a great job there at the coxswain seat, leading his Golden Bears down the race course. It's going to be a matter of, can Washington respond? Can they just set the tone in the middle 1,000 meters and go for it a little bit? We saw early leads from Cal in some of the other boats. There's the Husky shell swinging around the back end of the stroke, just with good power, good send, and great rhythm for Washington here.
Yeah, we see just under that 2-second lead, just over about a second and a half between Cal and Washington. So really strong racing through the 1,000 meters. Second half of the race, anything can happen. Coxswain Nick Dunlop for Washington, lots of experience, almost just missing out on that Olympics in 2024. He's going to stay cool and collected as he kind of guides. You'll see that face right there. He's just nice and calm. He's serious. He's focused. He's doing everything he can to spark that confidence and that motivation in his guys to kind of inch back into that California lead. But really strong racing. We'll still see that California bow just ahead of Washington, but Washington not giving them another inch.
Well, this is the epic racing that we thought we'd expect to see from Washington and California. Washington did not, when Cal took that big move, Washington did not let them. They kind of set the hook and tried to set them and reel it back in with good power, good skill, and excellent operation as a unit here. It's one of the things Coach Callahan's really looked for from this crew was what can you do when the pressure's on. I think that they are responding. Great rhythm being laid down. Ryan Smith, an excellent stroke man, just with that smooth rhythm to back it up with some power behind him now. These two crews are going head-to-head. What a battle. What a race coming into the Montlake Cut. This is just classic Schoch Cup racing between Cal and Washington.
Yeah, it's going to get really interesting here in this last 500 meters of the final race of the Washington-California duel. We'll get some times through the 1,500 still. Just about a second, just over a second, separating Washington and Cal. So Washington kind of made up a little bit of time there between the two boats. And really, as they come into the bridge in the last 350 or so meters, a lot can happen. How is Washington going to respond? Little bit bouncy water with a bunch of boats going through the cut, a little bit windy, but really the racing we've been waiting for all day. Just great between these two boats, just inches separating them.
Yeah, it is California just by literally inches ahead of Washington there. Washington, can you see the grit on Logan's face there in the middle of the boat? You see the strain amongst all 9 Husky athletes, all 9 Golden Bears. Oh, some geese are in the middle of the race course. Get out of the way. We've got a race going on. This one is fantastic. Here comes California. Here comes Washington. I think Washington may have inched ahead now. We are still strokes remaining, though, where it's still plenty to be decided in the last few strokes.
It's anybody's race at this point, but really this is just tenacious racing. It looks like it might just be Washington squeaking ahead of Cal in that final race of the Schoch Cup for the Washington-Cal duel, but you're not going to see a lot of celebrating. Oh, a little from Washington because it was a tight race.
There's confusion. I think some of the athletes don't know for sure. If I was watching, I would be excited, but I don't know that I'd be that unofficial time. I think it's going to be going down to literally a photo finish. That was a fantastic race. It's going to have to be kind of looking at the actual photo finish of this race. Unofficially, it's Washington 549.759 and California 550.297. Just over a half a second. I believe the margin might have even been closer than that.